These are the port states and vetting authorities. Click on the logos to learn more about them. The US Coast Guard exercises port state control in US waters. It ensures compliance with the pollution prevention and safety regulations. Port state control authorities may board and inspect any commercial vessel. An inspection that reveals substandard conditions will result in severe sanctions. These vessels will also be identified in shipping publications and databases. The Oil Companies International Marine Forum is a voluntary association of oil companies. It maintains the Ship Inspection Report Programme. This is a large database of up-to-date inspection results about tankers. The Chemical Distribution Institute provides a control scheme for chemical carriers and terminals. It also trains inspectors from senior chemical carriers officers. The database is available to all participating companies, ship owners and terminal operators. The adoption of standard procedures is mandated under the International Maritime Organization's International Safety Management Code. It requires most ship operators to have a certified safety management system in place. Click on the illustrations to read about them. A vessel is regarded as substandard if it is substantially below the requirements made by national or international laws. If the conditions on board are considered as endangering the vessel, its crew or the environment, it will be classified substandard. Port state authorities attempt to identify and detain such foreign vessels. Even stricter inspections can be required by charterers as part of a risk assessment to determine if a ship is safe to carry their cargo. Tankers are faced with the most stringent requirements from the oil and chemical companies which use them. Several publications serve as references and guidelines that can prevent port state sanctions. Click on the icons to read a list of some of them. If the officers and crew comply with the company's standard operating procedures, deficiencies will, for the most part, be eliminated. Creating and working within a properly developed safety management system should be the primary focus of the operator and the man on board. An inspection cross-reference is very helpful to the men on board during an inspection. It allows reference to company procedures in the SMS manuals, where vetting or port state requirements are met. It should be used during the inspection and at the closing meeting with the inspector. Inspection finding and ship's comments should be reported to management at the earliest opportunity. Two, understanding minimum expectations during drills. Understanding what machinery conditions are considered substandard. Understanding what conditions create a higher than normal fire risk. Understanding how inspectors determine crew awareness of instructions and procedures. During inspection, both equipment and crew competence are tested. Inspectors will focus on emergency drills. Failure to perform basic fire and lifeboat drills will certainly result in detention. Since the master is normally on the bridge, the chief officer must demonstrate that he has command and control of the emergency team. These are the most common reasons vessels are detained over drills. Click on the pictures to read them. During a fire drill, the crew may be called upon to sound the alarm. This should be done by shouting "Fire! Fire!" until the local alarm button can be pressed. Every man on board must be able to sound the alarm when called upon. The results of the roll call must be clearly and accurately reported. The master must be advised that the emergency teams are suited up and ready. The individual charged with investigating the fire must clearly report its location, classification, and boundaries. The team responsible for closing down ventilation must clearly report ventilation secured. The technical team must report that fire pump is online and electrical power is secure. Only then, and with the master's direction, should the emergency team commence fighting the simulated fire. Every man not directly involved in firefighting may want to kneel down on one knee while remaining on standby, thereby indicating to the inspector that they are not part of the firefighting team. The fire team should not begin breathing bottled air until the order is given. Otherwise, bottles will be empty too soon. If lifelines are to be used, the signals between tender and smoke diver must be clearly understood. When possible, the fire party should be split into two groups, an attack squad and a cooling or backup squad. During a boat drill, the results of the roll call must be clearly and accurately reported. Every man must report to muster with his assigned equipment and a life jacket on. The boat crew must commence lowering the boat on the chief officer's command. Additional equipment, such as radio and extra blankets, must be brought to the boat. The lifeboat engine should be warmed up in advance of an inspection to ensure smooth starting. For safety reasons, the boat should be first lowered to the water without anyone inside. Crew can either embark using the ladder or the boat can be returned to the embarkation deck for boarding. Manning requirements and launching techniques may vary with lifeboat design, particularly modern free-fall types. There should be lifeboat instructions in the ship's SOLAS training manual and in the vicinity of the lifeboat. All crew members must know what boat and duties they are assigned to. Don't forget details such as removing the gripes, securing the painter, etc. During an examination, the inspectors will form an impression of the standard of maintenance of the ship. Disconnected wires, inoperative reach rods, machinery trip mechanisms, missing valve handwheels, evidence of leaks, dirty tank tops and bilges, or extensive corrosion are indicative of poor maintenance. A large number of temporary repairs indicate a reluctance to make them permanent. Such deficiencies can result in a port state detention. Too many machinery deficiencies would warrant an inspection of the logbooks and an investigation into the records. Read below a list of common general deficiencies. Poor condition of fire hydrants or absence of fire hoses and extinguishers points to a need for a close inspection of fire safety equipment. The crew should check the valves at every drill. frozen or rusted equipment indicates a lack of maintenance. Inspectors will look for higher than normal fire risk brought about by a lack of cleanliness in the machinery space or deficiencies of fire extinguishing equipment. They will also inspect doors in all boundaries of high fire risk spaces, such as the main machinery rooms and galleys. Particular attention is paid to doors retained in the open position. The use of holdback hooks should be discouraged. An additional hazard in the event of fire is the spread of smoke through ventilation systems. Spot checks may be made on dampers and smoke flaps to ascertain the standard of operability. The inspectors may also request a demonstration of the emergency ventilation shutdown system. All officers must know how to stop ventilation systems. Attention should be given to escape routes by ensuring that vital doors are not locked and that alleyways and stairways are not obstructed. Regulatory and customer inspections should ensure that a continuing focus on equipment condition is maintained on board. Apart from obvious defects, such as holed lifeboats, the inspectors will look for signs of obstructions to boat launching equipment. This includes paint accumulation, seizing of pivot points, an absence of greasing, and the condition of blocks and falls. The inspectors should ensure that their action has no interference with the safe operation of the vessel, like cargo handling. They should not impose physical demands that, in the judgment of the master, could jeopardize the safety of the vessel, crew, passengers, or cargo. Remember that, even though inspectors are on board, it is the master who always has overriding authority. The stationing of pollution response equipment on deck is applicable to both cargo and bunker operations. Portable pumps should be rigged and ready for use at the aft end of the cargo deck on port and starboard sides. Non-sparking shovels, squeegees and sorbents should be likewise pre-positioned and clearly marked. The inspectors will also check to see that all fixed containments are clean and empty prior to any transfer operation. All generated residues will be checked along with the oil record book to determine if reception facilities have been used. To determine if all garbage requirements of Annex 5 of MARPOL 73 to 78 have been met. Furthermore, they may determine if reception facilities have been used and note any possible inadequacy. The inspectors will attempt to find if the key crew members are able to communicate with each other. They will also find if crew members understand the information given in manuals and instructions relevant to safety. Then they will ensure that they are aware of requirements for maintenance, testing, training drills, and required logbook entries. In particular, they may look to determine if the crew members are aware of their duties, as indicated in the muster list. This is a summary of the different areas inspectors will examine. Click on each rule to read about it. learn to understand the most common deficiencies cited during inspections, to identify passage planning requirements, to highlight basic safety concerns. The inspectors will examine the ship's logs and certificates. Vetting inspectors will require a completed Vessel Particulars questionnaire. The inspectors will also check drug and alcohol policy implementation. Records of the crew's working hours should be made available in compliance with the STCW 95 recommendations for preventing fatigue. Watch schedules detailing the working hours of all watch-keeping personnel should be posted. The certificates of the master and officers will be inspected to confirm validity for the ship and for the Flag Administration. Licenses must be issued or endorsed by the Flag Administration and contain proper dangerous cargo endorsements when needed. Certificates for deck officers must be valid for the size of ship and trading location. Certificates for engineering officers must be valid for the type and power of the ship. Inadequate passage planning is the most common deficiency cited in vetting inspections. Read here a few points that require attention. Waste bins should be constructed of metal, and public areas should have separate bins for plastic and ocean disposable materials. The galley waste bins should be checked to ensure that plastic material has not been accidentally mixed with food waste. Paints and solvents must never be stored in non-authorized areas. Cans of thinner and open paint must be removed from those areas where paintwork was recently completed. The door to the paint locker and sample locker should be closed, with no smoking signs posted adjacent. Handheld walkie-talkies and torchlights should be examined to confirm their acceptance for use in hazardous atmospheres. Only approved equipment should be used on tankers, even in the engine room. No mobile phones are allowed on deck. Spare oxygen and acetylene bottles must be stored in separate lockers with safety caps fitted. Proper bottle racks must be used for all bottles stored externally. The cutting torch must be fitted with flashback suppressors, and the pressure gauges should indicate no pressure on the torch. No smoking signs should be posted adjacent to each storage area. The SOLAS required Safety Equipment Training Manual will be examined to ensure that its content is specific to the ship. The manufacturer's instructions should be included wherever possible. The self-contained breathing apparatus, SCBA, is one of the most important pieces of emergency equipment on board. The inspector will therefore want to confirm that all sets are maintained properly and ready for use in an emergency. Read more about their requirements. Safety equipment lockers must be properly equipped, located, and readily identifiable. Different types of vessels are subject to different rules regarding the inventory, type, and quantity of equipment that must be carried. Fire and safety plans must identify the quantity and location of all firefighting and life-saving equipment on board. IMO's pictograms that correspond with the fire plan allow ready identification in an emergency. Inspectors are keenly interested in the crew's readiness for emergency situations. The operating company has a schedule of emergency drills specified in the safety management system. The conduct of all required drills will be verified when checking the ship's logs and records.